I'm going to show you how to make a delicious chicken and breadfruit curry. Come on, let's get started in cooking the chicken curry first. So basically I've got about 500 to 600 grams of chicken, and you could cut into cubes, wash it thoroughly and get ready. So I'm going to take about 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. This is going to be the best of the curry, which serves with plain steamed rice. Okay. Two tablespoons of chopped garlic. So let's get this tempered to get the best of the aroma. So I'm going to need about 1 large onion chopped. So when this is beginning to get tempered, let's add 1 large onion chopped, a nice large tomato, right, and then I'm going to have a nice piece of cinnamon, maybe a stick of cinnamon, about 3 of the clove, 3 of the cardamom, half a teaspoon of fenugreek seed, and maybe about 2 of the bay leaves. So let's get this tempered before we could put the chicken into it. Onions are being tempered, right? So now I'm going to put in the chicken chunk. So to cook the chicken, let's add some salt, 1.5 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, half a teaspoon of turmeric, and you could use a curry powder, a red curry powder. You could get it as a Jaffna curry powder also. It's available in the supermarket. So use 1 tablespoon of the Jaffna curry powder, and I'm going to use 1 tablespoon vinegar. Perfect. So mix everything. The chicken needs to cook. So I'm going to add half a cup of water into chicken and cook the chicken until it's 75% cooked. Cover and cook it. So let's cook the chicken and see how we can cook the breadfruit along with it. Until the chicken is cooking, let's cook the breadfruit. So I've beautifully got about 500 grams of breadfruit. So you could take off the skin and cut into fine cubes, and let's cook this separately. So basically I'm going to put all the breadfruit in and cook it with 1 cup of water. So this is a 225, 1 cup is 250 ml. So this is 225. I'm just going to add a little more. Okay, to flavor it, let's add 1 teaspoon of chili powder to bring in more flavor, and half a teaspoon of turmeric, along with 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So all you have to do is cook it halfway through, and let's add some fresh coconut milk to bring the best of the taste. So let's cook this halfway through and add more fresh milk and see how we can infuse this into the beautiful delicious chicken and make it into a one curry. The chicken is cooking very well for the breadfruit, but let me add, it's nicely being cooked and the salt is enough at the moment. So let me add like a quarter cup of more water. Okay, and reduce the heat because I just want the chicken. You could cut the chicken into very small pieces as well. And in the meantime, the breadfruit is getting cooked beautifully. So let's cover and cook the breadfruit, and once it's cooked nicely, I'm going to infuse both and add more coconut milk. So I'll come back once they're both cooked together to infuse and finish it off with some fresh thick coconut. So just check if the chicken is cooked well, because cooking the chicken well is important. You could cut the chicken into small pieces, of course. Right, so the chicken needs more cooking, so that's perfectly fine. So let me add a little bit of the thin second coconut milk. So I'm just going to add 1 cup, which is 250 ml of the second coconut milk. And this is the beautiful cooked breadfruit. It's a very fresh fruit which just cooked in a very few minutes. So if you're going for a breadfruit and if it cooks in a very short time, then that's the best of the breadfruit. So I'm just going to land all this here in between where you have the empty spaces. And I'm not just going to I'm not just going to mix it straight away. So let's give a little time for it to cook, maybe in about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to cover it because I feel the chicken needs a little more cooking. So we have given enough milk for the chicken to cook. Right. So let's cover it and cook, and we'll see. We're adding more milk along with a little more curry powder. Okay, it's beautifully cooking with the rest of the aroma. So the breadfruit, half of the breadfruit is nicely cooked while the other half needs a little more cooking. So you could always add in another half a cup of second coconut milk, not the thick one. The curry is going to get too thick. And at the moment, the salt level goes very well with the spice, but I like to make it a little more spicy. So I'm going to add the roasted curry powder, which is available at the supermarket. So this is of course an optional. So at this stage, if you feel the spice level is matching your family taste, then you don't have to add it. But I take the food a little more spicy. So I'm going in for the second tablespoon. So let me mix nicely. And I'm still going to cover. Let me check the salt because I've added more coconut milk, and I'm going to still cover and get it cooked, and the curry will be ready in the next 5 minutes. Serve with hot steamed rice. The curry is beautifully being cooked and it looks a little thick, but I prefer to add a little more water to cook in a little more chicken. So I'm just going to take in another half a cup of water, that's 125 ml. Right. And cover and cook for another about 3 to 4 minutes. It's going to be ready for a delicious curry. So this could be garnished with fresh mint coriander leaf, and maybe a little curry leaf to garnish on the top to bring in the more aroma. Hello, in this module I'm going to show you how to make a delicious coconut rice. So let's get started in taking 500 grams of rice which is already been washed, and let's get tempering a few onions along with a few of the spices. So basically I'm going to use a butter or a margarine. So you could use about 3 tablespoons with 1 tablespoon of oil. We don't directly use only butter or margarine. You need a little bit of oil. So along with it, just 1 tablespoon of oil. So I'll be needing a little bit of ginger. You could say 1 tablespoon of chopped ginger, 1 medium diced onion. Right, so we're going to make the flavor a little stronger. So I'm going to take in about 5 cloves, about 4 of the cardamom, a nice generous piece of cinnamon, of course. So this is bringing in that aroma to go to all the way into the rice. You could use a nice, like a 1.5 inch stick of cinnamon. You could add about 10 to 15 of the curry leaf. 1 straw. Perfect. Meanwhile, in the rice, it's 500 grams of rice washed beautifully. So I'm just going to take the thick coconut milk. Let me give you in ml. So let me quickly grab my measuring cup and come back to you to give you the exact quantity. So you could take like 300 ml of thick coconut milk. So you could take in more water, the rice. This is the Kiri Samba, so which takes in a lot of water. Unlike if you're cooking a basmati, you have to be very concerned with the water. Okay, perfect. So another 300 ml of fresh coconut milk and 250 ml of water. So let me just check the water level. Okay, if I can show you a close-up. This is how we check the water level. Just put the spoon, wooden spoon. The spoon must be submerged into the water. So there again you see it's not fully submerged, so it actually requires more water. This is how you cook a basic rice, of course. So when you just leave the spoon on top of the rice, the spoon must have enough water to submerge, but then it's not enough. So you could add another 1 more cup. So I'm just going to take in. And don't worry about the Kiri Samba, because you could use more water to cook the rice, unlike a basmati. Right, so let me check again. You need a little more. So altogether a little more. Can you see the spoon is submerged, say 80-90%. So maybe we can add that water a little later. So I'm going to add in a little salt, maybe like 2 teaspoons of salt. And finally, I have some garlic, chunks of garlic. So this comes at the end. So all I'm going to do is just cut it into 2. So it brings a real different flavor. Five, 6. The more garlic you add, it brings you loads of aroma. Perfect. And you don't let it over temper, because that's going to spoil the color of the rice actually. So this is nice and not really golden brown. It's beginning to be golden brown. Let me turn the heat off and get ready to cook the rice. So basically I have added 2 teaspoons of salt. So this is a very standard amount of salt. But if you feel you need more salt, you are taking more salt, you could go for a little more salt. So you could also check it later. I think it's a little early to check the salt. So off it goes into the rice cooker, and let's cook this delicious coconut rice and see the delicious menu we have to accompany it. We finished garnishing the beautiful breadfruit chicken curry with some freshly cut onion slices along with the mint and coriander leaves. We've added another half a cup of water before I took it off the rice cooker with a half a teaspoon salt. So you take half a cup of water, add half a teaspoon of salt, mix it thoroughly and put it into the rice, mix it very well and cook the rice well. So we've got a nice pot of coconut rice coming through with some fresh curry leaves to garnish.